Alrighty then. Good day. This is Samuel Trapp. You are listening to International Flavor on Damn Radio, and I am also doing this on International Flavor on YouTube, my YouTube channel, which is at International Flavor English. This is the English version. Wanted to talk and continue speaking because I will not be in the studio this evening, attending a function, and wanted to continue and didn't want to miss the opportunity to have my show. So I've been discussing over the last 2 days events that are occurring internationally and the story of my dispute with the state of Missouri and specifically the corrupt Missouri Bar. Now, as I've stated before, I also received an email from a state rep who told me that the Supreme Court of Missouri is also corrupt, and basically the way he put it was, we all know the Missouri Supreme Court is corrupt. Good luck, blah blah blah. And I tried to reach out to him and get some more, and we communicated a little bit, but then he fell off, just like every other person I've asked for assistance in the state of Missouri. Remember the governor who got thrown out of office, or he left office, resigned because of a scandal with a girl or something? I never would have for a scandal with a girl. That's nonsense, even if it's true. They all have scandals with girls, or a good percentage of them are up there. Seen some of it personally back in the day. Jefferson City's nice tight little circle if you're in the crowd, and they all just keep their secrets together. But once you get unpopular, boy, they'll throw out all your secrets and destroy you with them. And so that's what they did to whatever that governor's name was. Former Army guy, that one. He was a pretty cool guy. I actually was on his campaign for, when he was running for office, and I thought he was he was saying the right things. Not popular then to be saying those things. Not that you're going to come in and clean up what's wrong. Not very popular, but certainly needs to happen. If we can come in and clean things up, that would be very nice. But most of the time, that is not possible. Because we all know that the people who are continually in office and never leave, and all their flunkies on the administrative side who never leave, and people who use their power like a sword, and shouldn't. They should use it to defend people, but instead they use it to attack people. Those people, we all know who they are. The government is full of that type of person who believes they are doing you a favor, and that you should lick their rear end in order to get service. And we all know the type. I'm not saying that about all of them, but there's a pretty good percentage. And the longer you stay, the more likely that is to occur in any government position, because you're untouchable after a period of time. And getting fired, not an option. That doesn't happen they'll take chances. If you're one of the people who buck the system, they will get rid of you, and they will make it very, very uncomfortable for you at work. They will do everything in their power to make you leave, because you're not part of their little cabal. And so that is what the deep state is all about. It's understanding your place in the big cog, like an attorney is supposed to understand his place, apparently, in Missouri. And that's what I bumped up against, was not being one that was willing to just take what they said about my place and where that place was supposed to be. And so I was targeted, is probably the best word for that. And so as I had finished up the part of the story yesterday, that part of the story was that I had gotten a complaint about the piece of property that I was taking, or that I had taken, from my client's mother, which is completely legal in the state of Missouri. It's not against any code of conduct. Now, you cannot take your client's property. That is not permitted. You're not allowed to do that, not without all kinds of safeguards and protections. Well, I wasn't taking my client's property, but that is exactly what Sam Phillips alleged that I did. And you can read what he alleged. What they were trying to do was expand the law, or the rule. So the rule said you can't take anybody's property. Well, they don't think, a lot of people do not believe, well, unless you're the right attorney. If you're the right attorney, you can charge, $5,000, $10,000, $30,000 for a case. But if you're not the right attorney, you're a small firm guy, and you want to charge that type of money, you can't do it. What was the guy's name down in Springfield? Big guy, been practicing for 30 years, never even had a trust account. And people would pay him $30,000 to do their case. And he got a slap on the wrist. Okay, they didn't do anything to that guy. And he had a history, never did it. And he was doing the exact same, sorry, I'm yelling again, Mr. Phillips, but it gets me upset because they take the rules apply to certain people, but they don't apply to others. Just like in all things government, the rules are only applied against those you're trying to target. And certainly in the practice of law, that is exactly the case. And then the Supreme Court has a rule that they don't even have to say why they're not reinstating your license. Trust me, there are all kinds of rules that don't apply if you're a person bumping up against the practice of law in the state of Missouri. And we'll get into the analysis of that when I get further into the case, because I'm going to read for you my book to the Supreme Court, which ignored the entire affair. And that'll be hopefully entertaining for you, and I'll explain specifically why it doesn't work in the state of Missouri. You can't go after him. You can't do anything about it, like you could if you were, for example, a real estate broker like me. Okay, and there's interesting analysis that goes along with it. But let me get back to where it was. So. They came after me. They got to dig into my records, and then they kept saying that if you got a fee, now they questioned me over and over and over. If you have a fee of $1,500, a flat fee, somebody comes in and pays you, for example, a DWI. I used to do a simple DWI with the thought process that you were going to take the plea deal and not fight. You don't want a jury trial. You just want this resolved in the best way possible for you. I used to take those cases at a flat fee for $1,500, $2,500, okay? They tried to allege that because I was taking these flat fees and not putting it in my trust account, I hadn't earned it. I say, and by the way, the law supported this, if you take a case for that and you enter your appearance, the price is so low that you have earned the money by entering your appearance, because the judge isn't going to let you out without a fight anyway. And so there's all kinds of rules that apply to me but not to thee, that are continually used in the practice of law, but only if you're someone that Sam Phillips wishes to target. And so that is how the system works. And everybody was doing it, by the way. It's not just me. And they were trying to change those laws because they know the only people they apply to are small firm lawyers, and they would be able to target more people, build themselves a new building like they did as the Missouri Bar added another floor. If they can target people, then this is a good result for them. And so that is certainly what happened in the case of Samuel Trapp. And so I'm going to take a little break right now, and I will come back to the story. And now we continue. Sorry about that. Had to put some air in a tire. And there we are. So, as I travel, and this is a recording, by the way, no phone calls today. They won't be answered because I'm not there. And continuing, when the claim came out against me in the Supreme Court by Sam Phillips, he put 15 different counts against me. I should download it and read them all to you because, boy, they were various and they were many and they were interesting, the things I allegedly had done. But the big one was taking my client's property. There were two for failure to cooperate. And they claimed that I failed to cooperate. I turned over everything that was in my possession. But here's how they alleged that I failed to cooperate. And by the way, the Supreme Court never heard evidence on any of this because he didn't present any. And my lawyer didn't provide any defense of it. He just said in passing, well, they didn't show anything that he failed to cooperate. But they got me for failure to cooperate, 2 counts of failure to cooperate. In the end, I was punished for failing to keep accurate records in my account. The 2 counts of there were 2 counts of failure to cooperate, and the biggest one was the failure to keep my trust account in balance. And not following those rules, thereby intermingling my money with my client's money. And like I said, trust me, every single lawyer in the state, if you did what the rules allowed at that time, everyone was in that boat, okay? So I'll give you an example. So technically, if somebody pays me $1,500 to do one of the cases I was talking about, a flat fee divorce, a flat fee, a DWI, flat fee failure to, a flat fee speeding ticket. So, in fact, I'll give you an interesting example of a speeding ticket, and this was stupid. Kid calls me, I'm traveling, and I am traveling. And he wants a deal on a speeding ticket. The charge for a speeding ticket all over the state is either $150 or $250. There's a law firm that I worked with in St. Louis, that every time they took a case and ended up in my county, they gave it to me in my county. I charged them $150 for every single traffic ticket that they sent me to appear for them, so the lawyer didn't have to appear in that jurisdiction. So the lawyer could take the case in St. Louis on the telephone, never meet the client, call me, send it to me, I go to court, talk to the judge, do the same thing that lawyers everywhere do, work with the prosecutor, come up with a deal, you've paid the money, you're gonna get a deal. And whether that lawyer works it out or I work it out, it's not gonna make any difference. But technically, if somebody paid you $150 for that, it should hit your trust account until such time as the case is over or you have entered appearance, depending on what idiot, chief disciplinary counsel you get, that technically everyone has done it. So I guarantee you, if they went through like they did with me, every single court record for 3 years, trust me, they'll find a violation. And then everyone is guilty of this, okay? And so I'm guilty of intermingling funds by charging a flat fee and taking the money immediately, entering appearance immediately, but then taking the money immediately. That should all go, according to the lunacy of the Missouri Bar, and the rules that the Supreme Court promulgates on behalf of this Rules Committee of the Missouri Bar, then that money should go into trust. And if this has happened to you and you file a complaint against your attorney, trust me, it will be dismissed because their name is not Samuel Trapp. And everybody else gets away with it, but not Samuel Trapp, okay? So, but they were after me for the property. They wanted to expand the property definition, and the Supreme Court obviously wouldn't do it. And here's the reason maybe I'm not giving you enough of a factual and a legal basis for why this is, but I wanted to make sure that you understand what was occurring. And so I was trying to do what they wanted us to do. So if someone came in and paid me $1,500, I would put it in my trust account. But then on payday, a couple weeks later, every payday, and every law firm did this. I had 8-10 employees working for me, and every the important days when I would reconcile my trust account, and by the way, that's all against the rules too. You have to reconcile your trust account daily, or as soon as you earn the money, you gotta pull it out. So here's the goofballness of the rule. If I take a $1,500 check from a client, and I say it's a flat fee and I'm never going to charge anything else unless we go to trial, and I enter appearance, I've earned the money, even according to the loonies at the Office of Chief Disciplinary Counsel. But everybody's guilty of this. It's just that 99% of the lawyers don't do what I was trying to do. Okay, they don't put it in their trust account and then take it back. They just put it in their operating account from the jump. They enter appearance, which I would do as soon as possible. Enter appearance. I like to review the case and then enter appearance, so it might sit in my trust account for a period of 2 weeks till the next payday, right? And so on the next payday, often I'd be driving somewhere. I'd be doing something, and I would have to kind of do it on the fly, and I'd call in and speak to one of the assistants. Usually it was the same one. I don't want to burn anyone, but that says this up. But this is how I chose to try to stay in compliance with these rules that they have, that it's not your money until you've earned it. And when you earn it, you put in so I would put the money in my trust account, or try to. And at points I would say, well, all of it has to go in the trust account, and then we would try to pull it out. Well, it's nothing but an accounting nightmare unless you're a very large firm that has a staff of 20 attorneys and 3 accountants. I didn't have an accountant. I turned my stuff over to the tax man once a year, like most small businesses do. But if you're a lawyer, this opens up all kinds of stuff, especially if they can get into your bank accounts and troll through stuff for 3 years and ask you questions about specific accounts. And by the way, none of this was against the rules when I did it. So what they accused me of was intermingling of funds. And technically, everyone does it, because when you take that money and put it into your trust account and then take it out, you are saying that you've earned the money and you've taken it out. But most people skip that. And that big guy from I wish I could remember his name, but he charged a lot of money, and he was around for 30-something years, and he never had a trust account. Never had a trust account. He didn't even have one. And they say that you can operate that way in a small firms. Even in the bar stuff, they say you can operate without a trust account if you do things correctly, if you do things like I was doing. But if you're charging hourly, if you ever charge anything hourly, all of that has to go into the trust account, and then you pull it out as you earn it. So arguably every single day you have to say how many hours you got, do a separate transaction for each separate client that you've done work for, and pull it out every day because you have earned it. And if you leave it sitting in there after you've earned it, you are guilty of commingling, because your money is sitting in the trust account, and that's not permitted. And so by the way, all this stuff against me led to a complete change in the rules, okay? Because what I would do would be every 2 weeks when payday came. And a lot of firms are doing this. I'm just giving an example. And a lot of firms were doing it. And so, because I asked around, and all the small firms were doing things similar or worse than what I was doing. And by the way, all in an effort to try and comply with these idiot rules and stay away from idiot people like Sam Phillips, who doesn't, whose intent was, "Oh, you're never going to practice law in this state again." That's his. And by the way, he pulled it off. He pulled it off, and the story gets worse. Believe it or not, the story gets worse and worse and worse, because he had a vendetta against me. One government actor after you, and I had several after me on many different levels that just did not like me. You know, I'm too open with my thoughts on all of this BS. In fact, there are people that still remember me and my questions at all of these CLE classes specifically related to this issue, because I tormented them a lot and asked them questions about how to comply with these rules. Wow, if it's and the instructors, the lecturers would go, wow, if it's clear that you're attempting to comply with the rule, they're not going to come after you. It's all, you know, you have to have done something really, really major. No, you don't. You just have to have someone who's willing to come after you and destroy you, like Sam Phillips did to me. And by the way, I'm not alone. He's done it to other attorneys too. I've received calls from other attorneys with similar things that I am talking to you about. The system is corrupt if you can allow these people to take out active lawyers in the way they took me out. They solicit complaints. They go out and send letters to all your clients and say, we have money available for you if you'll make a complaint. And you don't get to participate in that process. But that part's coming later. I'll tell you how that goes. So I had the two complaints. The two biggest things that happened to me was, number one, this property thing. Number two, the court case. And by the way, this is difficult, and I keep adding on things, but this is an entire story of how this works and why they came after me. And so when the court case come up before the Supreme Court, like I said yesterday, there were 6 of 15 that they dismissed 9 claims against me that they put out there. 9 of the 15 claims they dismissed, and there were 6 remaining, including this property thing. And so the property thing I won, and because I should have. And so basically the allegation was that I was taking my client's property in exchange for representing him, which you cannot do. Just like I said yesterday, you can't have sex with somebody as payment for your legal fees. Well, the same goes with property, unless you have extremely strict rules and lots of different things that go along with it. But the real rule is, don't do it. It's a bad plan. Don't do it. Eventually, they'll come after you for it. But if you're the right lawyer, Greg Williams, they don't, and you actually did take your client's property. Your client, that was his client's property. That's okay. You get a slap on the wrist. But if you're Sam Trapp with Sam Phillips coming after you to destroy you, as he said he was going to, and I don't know what I ever did to piss him off. I really don't. That has still never become clear. And they wouldn't. The federal court wouldn't let me past in the case to get to ask him those questions, and so I could never get him under oath. And I would love to do that. I answered his questions under oath. I'd love to ask that guy and anybody like him that goes and attacks other people with licenses in an effort to destroy them. It'd be nice to get them under oath, because he was not there to repair errant behavior in an attorney, to collegially assist in protecting the public, as they like to call it. So they protected the public that didn't need to be protected, because I didn't steal anyone's property like they like to claim. And I did not do anything remotely similar to that. I was I failed to keep my accounts. Like, I couldn't provide evidence of certain transactions. 2 counts related to that, and 2 counts related to failure to cooperate because I couldn't provide that information. So everything that I did, all of the 4 things that I was found to have violated in a rule, are tiny, minor things that no one gets punished for, or they get a letter of reprimand, they get a slap on the wrist, they don't get suspended indefinitely from the practice of law like I have been. But the goal of Sam Phillips and the people who come after you is to the specifics of the rule is to allow them to keep you suspended indefinitely, because they know that the Supreme Court of Missouri will keep you suspended indefinitely, and I'll get into that as it goes. But I wanted to get to the hearing process and how that went. So during the hearing, and this is during the hearing, the lady had hired, I think it was Greg Williams. I think it was, but I'm not positive. I think she hired Greg Williams to sue me. And Greg Williams sued me to get her property back. And I called him up and I said, look, if she pays me the money that she still owes me, I'll give her the property back, just like I've told her all along. And he got the money from her. They paid me the money. I wiped out a bunch of the debt she owed me. I took part of the money because, Greg Williams, did. And I'm 90% certain it was Greg. So I had sued him for property. He sued me for property, right? And I wonder if the Missouri Bar called him, the Office of Chief Disciplinary Counsel called him to either provide information about me too, like they did me. They called me when he was in trouble with the Office of Chief Disciplinary Counsel. I don't know, but the whole thing is a shit show, and these people are a menace and need to be stopped. But nobody will stop them. The Supreme Court of the United States won't, and we'll get into why that's not. But so the biggest thing was I took my client's property, but I didn't. But I got sued for it by Greg anyway, civil. That has nothing to do with Office of Chief Disciplinary Counsel. That was just a lawsuit against me. And I resolved it with her, took care of it. And then, let's see. Then, so 2 counts based on this failure to maintain, accounts, and then 2 counts for failure to cooperate by providing evidence that I did not possess. And the example of what I did not possess was this. Sam Phillips asked for and wanted me to provide. So I told you about the fact that I had they had 3 years worth of my bank account transactions that they went through. And what Sam did is when he got these, he sent a request to me. He said, well, I need you to tell me this Friday, and he picked a Friday. These were my office. Everybody got paid on every other Friday, and every other Friday I would reconcile my trust account and take out money that people owed me in one transaction. So I would say how much. Let's see, so-and-so gave us a DWI in the last 2 weeks, and have we entered appearance yet? He paid us $1,500, $2,000 is all where are we on that case? And if it was that we had entered appearance, I took all the money, put it into my operating account, and I would basically tick off these cases and go case 1, case 2, case 3, case 4, and say, here's all the money. Take that money from my trust account and put it into my operating account, but not as a separate transaction for each client. I would tally it up. So-and-so $1,500, so-and-so $2,500, so-and-so $1,000. I'd add up all the money, and then if the amount was, say, $10,000, $12,000, which it usually was, I would transfer that amount of money on Friday electronically from my bank account, my trust account, to my operating account in the same bank, okay? And I would do that every Friday, or every other Friday, I mean. And that was keeping track. Well, what Sam did is he said, on this day, you transferred $10,000, $12,000. Which specific cases was it for? And I would say, I don't have those records. Now, that is where the inaccurate record keeping and failure to keep trust account reconciliation came from. And guilty as charged. I told him, Sam, I can't give you that information. Why not? I don't have it. Well, you need to come up with it. But I don't have it. I said, if I do that, if I create a list of people that I had on that day, it's going to be from best memory, and it's 3 years ago. There is no best memory. I couldn't tell you with any accuracy who that is, and you got me. let's admit that I'm guilty of this and punish me. I don't believe I'm going to win this in front of the Supreme Court of the state of Missouri, and I didn't, by the way. But I don't have those records. Well, he claimed that is failure to cooperate because I refused to provide these records twice. He sent me two things and said, provide these records. I don't have the records. I wouldn't create the records, and so therefore I've failed to cooperate. I think it's foolish, to say that I failed to cooperate. I was trying to cooperate, but I can't cooperate by making up evidence because Sam Phillips is a legal genius, obviously, and Sam Phillips would then say, well, wait a minute. You made this record and you didn't know that it was true when you made the record. You're a damn liar, which he called me anyway because of this. He didn't believe I didn't have the records. He thought somewhere I had this list of records that I kept, but I didn't. And so obviously incorrect. I should have hired an accountant years before is what should have happened, because I ran through, I don't remember, there was some pretty good amounts of money going through my bank account on an annual basis, and I did pretty well as an attorney. I did pretty well, and had a good number of clients that I represented and went through. And so Sam wanted to know why I didn't have these records. I said, well, I'm a moron. I didn't have the records, and sorry about that. But I don't have them, and I'm not going to go create them, because then that gives you more ways to come after me. But by the way, the rule did not say that you could not transfer trust account money in one lump sum every 2 weeks. It didn't say you have to have a separate one. It does now, by the way. Now, when you transfer money from your trust account to another, you can no longer do it electronically. This is post Samuel. They changed the rule. You can no longer do it electronically, and it has to be done in a separate trust account check, written from your trust account check to your operating account by check. And those checks have to all be kept and tallied, and you can't do it electronically, according to the rules I read a couple years ago. Maybe they changed it again after uproar from everybody in the bar, because that really is stupid. Okay, that presumes that they get it. I was opening the door. Basically, I was the experiment and the example to the rest of the legal world what not to do, and to improve the power of the bar to go after people they do not want to be a part of the bar for no particular reason other than Sam Phillips doesn't like you. Okay, and Sam Phillips did not like me. That is absolutely clear, and God knows why he didn't. I don't know. I tried to be nice to the guy, and he just decided he didn't like me. And he was a bitter and I don't know what. He's a bitter old man, and he's not that much older than me. But now I'm a bitter old man, and he created me. so there you have it. But at any rate, to continue on, so when it came to the end of the line for me, okay, and a lot of weird things happened in relation to this too. That you have a hearing before a bar committee. You don't go to the Supreme Court of Missouri. You go to a bar committee, and this bar committee are three people, again selected by the bar from the suck-ups, from those who love the bar and love to be involved in the drama, in the high school, in all of those things that relate to the bar, because it's nothing but a cabal of people who get together and claim they're doing well by the state of Missouri and all the people involved therein, going after, but part of that is to come after, to create things that give them power so that they become part of the cabal, okay? And so it's nothing but a cabal. And so the Missouri bar is the problem, because they're the ones who appoint Supreme Court judges. They're the ones who get to say who becomes a judge in many of the jurisdictions of the state of Missouri. This is the problem. The problem is the Missouri bar. The problem isn't even really the Supreme Court of Missouri, but the problem is lawyers in the legislature, in the judicial committee, that they will not go up against the Missouri Bar. They do not create the rules. The rules are created by the Missouri Bar Rules Committee, who makes recommendations to the Supreme Court on how to change rules, but not based upon reality. It's based upon going after people that they wish to go after. All of it is it's a cabal, and it's you have to be a member of the organization. Well, if you're going to be a member of the organization, trust me, young lawyers, be one of the ones that kisses ass and sucks up to the power of the Missouri Bar, or you won't get very far. Or if you're ever in any trouble, there is no one who will come to your aid or even attempt to help you. In fact, they run the other direction as fast as possible because they do not want to be seen, regardless of their position. If they're even as a legislator in the state of Missouri, no one will go up against the Missouri Bar. And they know it is foolish because why? Because they wish to be one of the ones that is appointed a judge later. They want to be one of the ones in the cabal. A lot of those people who stay in that aren't practicing attorneys of any note unless they are connected and know they're untouchable. And I could point out a few of those. I'd love to. And I will get to that part because the firm that represents them is corrupt as the day is long. And the lawyers that they represent literally, what do you call it? I want to say blasphemed, but that's not the word. They defamed me. They defamed me repeatedly to anyone that would listen, that I stole from my clients, that I stole my clients' property. And even to the tune of articles written in law review articles, U.S. Law Review articles, as well as the Missouri Lawyers Weekly, that wrote articles about me claiming that I stole my client's property, and I did not. And so, at any rate, these things, when you go to the first hearing, the hearing is 3 people selected by the Missouri Bar, that they have a hearing, and what they are supposed to do is make a recommendation of what is to happen to you. And they made the recommendation that, number 1, I didn't take my client's property, because I didn't. I took my client's mother's property. That was allowed. Now, Sam Phillips, legal genius that he is, tried to say that because this kid was 21, 22 years old and had a bedroom in his mom's house, that I took his house. Okay? But if you're going to believe that, the Supreme Court would never believe that. But if you're going to believe that, you have to believe that any bank that attempts to take a piece of property from a person who doesn't pay the mortgage on that house has to first evict the 18-year-old son living in the basement. And that is not the case. They have to get rid of the parents. Now, sometimes if the foreclosure involves a person other than a renter, if it's a rental property, then there might be some procedure on it. But no, you don't have, the banks in Missouri would have an uproar if the Supreme Court ever came to the conclusion that because an 18-year-old lived in the basement, you couldn't foreclose on a house and take property and ownership of that home. You couldn't do it because an 18-year-old lived in the basement or an adult child lived in the basement. The home is owned clearly by the mother. The kid's not on the title, and if he lives there with the mother and with whoever owns the property, you don't have to evict him individually. You have to evict the owners of the property, and they take their 18-year-old son with them. I suppose there could be a creative argument made to that effect, but it wasn't made in this case. They were trying to get something in that line, but the recommendation of the advisory committee on what to, or whatever they're called, to punish me was I did not violate that particular count. I was not found guilty of that account. But they claimed I did not keep my records, that I knew, that I did not keep my records twice, failed to return money to someone that claimed that I owed them money. That was number 2, and number 3 and 4 were failures to cooperate with the Missouri Bar investigator named Sam Phillips. But no one ever clarified what those failures were. But the only thing that I had not provided were the documents related to banking. Okay? So now I've been recommended for discipline, and the discipline was not for suspension. The discipline was, well, do you know what? I honestly don't recall what the exact recommendation was, but it wasn't lose your license. They had recommended that I get a punishment up to what the Supreme Court decided, but I don't remember exactly what it was. But whatever it was, and I want to say that it was not, it wasn't suspension of my license. It was put me on a path, a probation status, put me on something else, right? But it wasn't take his license. It wasn't suspend his license. It certainly wasn't disbar him or keep him from practicing law forever. After that hearing, I was like, well, I guess that wasn't too bad. And I won the big count against me, which related to this property that I allegedly stole from my client. Now, she got her property back after she paid me the money, just like I always said she would, even though she sued me to do it because maybe she didn't believe me. I don't know. But I told her I would give it back to her if she paid my bill. And now, in the hearing process, the most interesting part of that entire hearing process was the son. So in the committee, Sam Phillips brought the son to testify against me. Right, the son was going to testify against me. So during the hearing, they asked the son, and I don't remember his name, but they asked the son, how did Sam do for you? Oh, Sam was great. He interviewed the witnesses. He went and did all the stuff at the county. He found that the evidence was not proper, and he made these motions. He communicated with me all the time, told me about what I had to do, and he did a great job for me in getting my sentence far reduced from what it was going to be had I stayed with the public defender. So I'm sitting there listening to this guy, and all this is going pretty well. And then he goes, Sam goes, well, is there anything you didn't like about Sam? And he goes, yeah, he took my mom's house. And he expounded on that just a little bit. Yeah, he took my mom's house. And, I think that was wrong, but that's it, He didn't expound. He thought I did a great job for him legally, and taking his mother's house, he didn't like that. Well, okay, I didn't like it. I didn't want to take that house anyway. I wanted the money. And so trying to get the money in creative ways obviously is not in the benefit of anybody, including the client. So clients don't go to that. And, other lawyers had said, you need to pay me $30,000 to $50,000 up front. So that lady would have never gotten it. This son would have never gotten adequate representation if I didn't take the deal that, by the way, she offered. It was not my idea. She had taken that same deal to a number of other attorneys, and they all told her to go pound sand. I told her I'd do it, and I was interested in the challenge anyway. And I told her I would do it, but never should have. Famous last words, never try to help people if you put yourself in any danger. Don't do it. But I didn't think I was in any danger, really. Even if I took her property, I shouldn't have been in any danger. And I did a great job for her son, even by his own account. I did exactly what they wanted me to do. And I got him out of prison in 2.5 years. For stabbing an 84-year-old man, whatever he was some old guy. And but that guy had sexually assaulted, allegedly, this kid, and so there was some different circumstance to go along with it that had never been explored. So I explored all that, explored the evidence, and the evidence was a crap show by the police, and there was nothing adequate in there. So, in the end, before we ever get to the Supreme Court of Missouri, here's where we stand. I am recommended for discipline on 4 counts. Failure to keep my records, potentially intermingling my funds with my client's funds, and guilty as charged. 2 counts of failure to cooperate, also guilty as charged because the evidence didn't exist. I couldn't provide it and wouldn't lie about it, although arguably I think that shouldn't happen. And 3 was failure to maintain adequate records of trust accounts and things of that nature, and including a failure to return some money that they thought I withheld some money from a client that I should have returned. I disagree, and we fought that, but they came against me on that and said it wasn't there. So there were those are the 4 things, 4 counts recommended to the Supreme Court. None of those counts, none, result in attorneys losing their license. There's an attorney who took money, and he's a Columbia attorney. This happened in 2004, 2005, 2006, who took a client's money, pocketed it, went away somewhere else, came back, lied to the court about all of these things, went to prison for a while, committed felonies, went to prison, came back, applied for his license, and received it. Okay? That's how Missouri handles things if you're in the preferred class of attorneys that don't confront the Missouri bar, that you just bow down and kiss their the royal hems of their royal robes. If you do that, maybe. But I tried that part too, and for me it didn't work. I tried to kiss Sam's ass. I went in and asked him how. Where do I lick? Which orifice would you prefer? How can I make this go away like everyone else in the state of Missouri does? How does this work? Not in those specific words, but I tried to, hey man, how do we fix this? What can I do? Where's the collegial atmosphere of, geez, you're an errant soul, let's fix that. That was not the case with me, not remotely. And for quite a few reasons, which I've already outlined. And Sam decided that was how it was, maybe, who knows? It could be possible that he heard the story of my DWI. It could be possible that he heard the story of my car accident, where I alleged that the police stole my money. Didn't like that. Could be that he was in communication with Greg Case, who had it in for me for a good long time. Could be any number. Could be that I filed suit on behalf of inmates many times. Who knows what Sam Phillips's motivation was to hate me as much as he did. But if the government comes after you, and you got somebody committed to going after you, this is what occurs. And Sam was definitely committed. He was committed to destroying me. He said so to me, to my face. And I never have had the opportunity to put that little flake under oath and make him ask why he hated me the way that he does. And what was so important, where he first became aware of me, how he first became aware of Samuel Trapp. What was the first impetus that made you want to come after me? Was it Greg Williams when your assistant called me and gave me information? Where was it? Was that when I became persona non grata in the Missouri Bar or the Office of Chief Disciplinary Counsel? I believe it was one of those things or a combination of all. That is what I believe. And I can't prove it because I've never been given the opportunity, which I'm going to outline why now. So at the end, or over the next several days, because we still got a ways to go. And here I am after the recommendation. There's a period of time where you see whether somebody is going to appeal, so either side can appeal that decision, and if you appeal, it goes to the Supreme Court. So we were waiting for whether or not Sam would appeal. During that time frame, there was a probationary order, a probationary thing that were discussed, and how we would discuss those things and where we would go. And the effort was to see what sort of punishment I would be subjected to, knowing full well that none of those 4 things ever result in suspension. None of them. Certainly people get a slap on the wrist for that thing everywhere. in every single one of those cases. And so I had no worries. I wasn't worried about what was going to come of that. I thought, well, I have to take what's coming to me, but it wasn't going to be loss of my license. It wasn't going to be, I was certainly not going to be disbarred. I wasn't even going to be suspended. I was going to be subject to something, probably a retraining, probably a supervisory probation where Sam Phillips, that's what we were discussing, was where Sam Phillips could come in and monitor everything that I did. That is what was being discussed. And I was not happy with that result and knowing that could be part of it, but I was okay with that. And we were going to come up with some kind of a probationary order that would allow for that sort of thing, right? And that was where we all were. Well, they have however many days it is, and frankly, I don't remember. I want to say 90 days in which to file an appeal. And then everybody, and that appeal goes straight to the Missouri Supreme Court. So the flunkies down below, appointed by the Missouri Bar, decided basically in my favor, I'm not going to lose my license, and I didn't do anything property-wise. Well, on the last day or very close to it, to appeal, Sam Phillips sent something to the Supreme Court of the United States saying that he wanted to appeal the decision about the property and taking my client's property, not my client's mother's property. He thought that the son living in the basement was enough to make the Supreme Court say that I should be punished as well for taking my client's property. But now the only punishments were the things that were outlined, were the 4 cases that are already outlined. And so even though he filed that appeal, I filed the appeal also, or my lawyer did, and I filed that appeal saying, no, we won on that issue. It wasn't my client's property, it was my client's mother's property. 2, I didn't fail to cooperate. And 3, yes, I did commit these other 2 things, but there are reasons why. And here they are, and we provided those things. And so that process went on because it had to be briefed and gone through for the Supreme Court and over and over and over. And part of me believes the Supreme Court to be extremely corrupt and in the pocket of the Missouri Bar for this decision, because I've outlined to you what I did. I even said I did they asked a statement for me. I even said in front of the Supreme Court, yes, I did these things, but I didn't take my client's property, but I defended myself. My lawyer defended me. We all, we were able to make statements in front of the Supreme Court. And frankly, when we were done, Sam Phillips focused on the property, okay? And he asked the court for the property to suspend my license to practice law. That's what he wanted. He wanted my suspension. Now, he couldn't make me never practice law again unless he got the suspension, right? And we'll get into that and how that works. But in front of the Supreme Court, I'm thinking, well, nobody recommended suspension. They recommended this kind of supervisory deal, a probation of sorts that I have to sit on for, I don't remember, it was some ungodly length of time, a year, a couple of years, I don't remember. And but that's what we were talking about. And so none of us were talking about, in reality, suspension. And the Supreme Court, I didn't think they would suspend, not for those 4 little things. Nobody got punished for that even. People didn't even get letters of reprimand. The Supreme Court they don't do it to other people, okay? The Supreme Court didn't do this to other people. They did it to me, but they didn't do it to other people. But now the Supreme Court is a bunch of flunkies all in the pocket of the Missouri Bar because they've all been appointed by the Missouri Bar. They couldn't have been appointed without the Missouri Bar. So I say all these things are intertwined. This is what I say. And the Supreme Court, at least at a bare minimum, They are not doing their jobs, and they didn't seriously weigh what this case was. They all just capitulated to one or two other people's. Well, I think we need to make an example out of him, and then they all just joined in and said, okay, well, suspend his license. He can apply. It's not the end of the world. We're not disbarring the man, but in Missouri, you are disbarring the man if you're subject to an indefinite suspension. You are, and this part. Nobody knows that practices law unless it's happened to them, because nobody pays attention to it, right? This is not what occurs. For the 99%, it doesn't occur. It only occurs if your name is Samuel Trapp, and if it's rules and if it's something you want to do to exclude someone from the practice of law in Missouri. And by the way, 90% of every other state on the planet when that occurs, okay? So I'll tell you about those rules as we go as well in other states, because that's an important part of the story too. And so here's what. So now we go to the argument for the Supreme Court. My lawyer argues as I've just said. Sam argues as he just said. I get up and fall on the sword and say that I've done these things, but and I can reform them, I can repair them, it wasn't intentional, and I didn't take my client's property, I took my client's mother's property, but I did defend myself. So that happened. I don't even remember the date of the hearing. You can find it on the Missouri Supreme Court's website. You can find it out there, and you may even be able to listen to it. Listen to the arguments that occurred that day, because they used to record them and put them out there for people to hear. There was a good number of cases on the docket. There were a lot of people in that room, and we were not the first case. They heard argument on some other cases as well. But that came up, and whenever it came up, I want to say August. And here comes another interesting part of the story. The judgment is always supposed to be provided to both parties at the same time. Okay? My lawyer had not been provided any decision. I had not been provided any decision. The Supreme Court had not published any decision, and there was nothing on the web that would because when they are published, they are published. It was October the 14th of 2014. I'm sitting in my office, doing what I always do, working my butt off, getting a bunch of things done, and the phone rings. And it is a reporter, I want to say, from Missouri Lawyers Weekly. And the reporter from Missouri Lawyers Weekly says to me, Mr. Trapp, we're calling you about your reaction to the Supreme Court suspending your license. And I tell you what, I don't know how to describe the feeling, but everything drained from me. I was instantly dead right there. And I didn't know how to respond. I didn't know what to say. I didn't know what to think. And I said, how do you know about a ruling hasn't come out? Oh, we were provided a copy of the ruling. Really? I said, I don't have a copy of the ruling. I logged into the website and nothing up, nothing there. So someone at the Supreme Court gave my ruling in my case, not to my attorney, not to me, but to the press to call. You want to talk about corruption? There you go. Somehow this judgment, at least mine, was leaked, and it was probably to Sam Phillips. Sam probably got the ruling early, sent it to the newspaper, sent it to everybody that he could think of, because the phone went a little bit wild that day, getting some calls from people. And first thing I did was call my attorney. Said, I haven't gotten anything, and he goes, let me check my email. I checked my email. He checks his email. Everything else appears on CaseNet, and was the Supreme Court was pretty good about that, putting things onto CaseNet and making sure that they all showed up, except in the case of Samuel Trapp. That doesn't happen. No. Those things get released first to the newspaper to twist anything they can against Samuel Edward Von Trapp the First, as somebody calls me, forget who. But at any rate, that is what occurred in my case. And so, you know what? I think it's better I'm here to work on this place, and I'm thinking I'm not going to, because I still got about a half an hour to go. And I'm going to continue to drive around, maybe drive and get some coffee, something like that, whilst I'm recording. A little too short, but I'm also on a video feed. And so I want the video to, show up as well. And nothing boring like sitting in front of a house. That's dull, and it's showing on both sides of the screen. At any rate, so that is how I became aware that my license was suspended. And that should offend greatly attorneys, should offend greatly anybody in the court that knows those things, any participant in the court process. How is it that the press has leaked these things? If I'm nobody, which I am, and I never was anybody, who the hell was I in the process of the state of Missouri? I was just a small time attorney trying to live and practice and do things and have a good life. That was me. I wasn't trying to rock any boats, but I wasn't against rocking them if they needed to be rocked. I took cases because I wanted to represent my client. I didn't take cases because they were popular or unpopular. I took cases because I thought something needed to be done. And that is the reasoning for why I wanted to be an attorney in the first place. There are people who can't fight for themselves, and there are cases that need to be discussed, and the world is an imperfect place, and there are things that I wanted to be able to participate in. I always had wanted to be an attorney, and so when I find out from the press, probably a very negative press, at least as to me, they had never been positive about anything related to me, then something is definitely amiss in the system. And so that is how I found out. And then I didn't know, oh my God. And I am asking, I find out from the newspaper that, oh, by the way, you're suspended for a year. You can't practice law. And by the way, it's actually you're suspended indefinitely. This is how they get around disbarring people. They suspend you indefinitely with the right to reapply after 1 year. Okay, so you can apply after 1 year. And I applied twice after the 1 year period is over. The first time took 22 months or so to get a denial, a one-word denial of, oh, by the way, no, but no explanation why. And then I applied again immediately the next day, being fully eligible. And 2.5 years later, another one-word denial, no, and without any reason why. And that is also a part of this story. No reason why. Why not? Nothing why. No explanation of any kind. No ruling. Like if you're a practicing real estate broker, like I am right now, to get a real estate broker's license in the state of Missouri, you have to be a person of upstanding moral values. You have to be a person with a good reputation in the community. You have to be a person of high standards, blah, blah, blah. All these things that are listed, which, by the way, are identical to those listed for lawyer. Okay? So the state of Missouri has said that I am a person of high moral character and good moral values and a good reputation of upstanding behavior in the community, and issued me a license to be a broker in the state of Missouri. How is it that on the one hand, the state of Missouri can say that I'm an upstanding citizen of good upstanding moral values and high character on the one hand, but I am not on the other hand, not to the extent to be a lawyer? And why is that? What is it that makes it so important for the so horrible for to be a lawyer that a broker isn't considered that professional? Nobody can differentiate what those two things are, and they have not to date said anything remotely similar to why that is the case, to why I what there is to say that I am not of upstanding moral value and character on the one hand, but I am on the other. To be a broker, I'm of good moral character. Lawyer, not. That's that. Okay, and I understand that. So proceeding on. What to do next? I have no idea. I got a packet that came with, there's no appealing it except to the United States Supreme Court. And frankly, that was not really my intent. I was like, all right, well, I've lost. The Supreme Court obviously thinks this is something more. But again, they don't say specifically why. No rules why, just he's going to be punished. We find that he's done this, and this. It's a very short thing, and he's suspended. And by the way, here's what he's got to do with his license. But it doesn't tell me why. It doesn't tell me specifically what I did with relation to any of those things, specifically why it was the case. We had asked for rulings as to what I did to not cooperate. They never ever told us what that was, to not cooperate. But we were led to guess, and my guess is that I did not provide. The only thing I know that they asked for that I didn't provide are the things that I couldn't provide, and so that's what the allegation was. So the Supreme Court never ever told me exactly what I had done that violated any of the rules that they claim I violated. So it's not clear to any other attorney what they should do differently than what I did to not violate that particular rule. The weakest, the most nonsensical, and courts that argue minutia forever in lawyer discipline absolutely do not. They want to keep it as vague as possible. They want to keep it to one word denials, one word suspensions. Say you're suspended, you violated these rules, but they don't want you to know how you violated the rule. You're supposed to know that on your own. And so I've put my guesses in place, and you've got the best guesses that I can come up with, but the Supreme Court, which is so hell-bent on making sure that minutia are discussed in detail in every other aspect of life in Missouri, not so when it comes to lawyers, because they know what I know. They know that the Missouri Bar is who controls all of this, and they need this vague nonsensical nonsense to punish people that they deem need to be punished, and still be free to be vague enough to allow other people to get away with behavior of a similar nature or identical nature, which has happened in my case many, 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 many times. So if there are people you don't want to practice law, this is how you can do it. This is why Sam Phillips was so comfortable in knowing that he would get me, because he knew if he could ever get me in front of the Supreme Court, that they would rule in his favor, and it would be something that once he got that ruling, he could keep me out forever, which he has done. Okay, and I'll explain how that has worked out. Okay, and so what happened next? I get this letter of how I comply with the court's order, and get this. Here's what you have to do. you have to send them your framed well, mine was framed. Take your license out of the frame. I don't remember if you put a line through it or if they deface it. I don't know. You got to send them a copy of your license. Not a copy. You got to send them the original license. You have to pay a fee. I forget what. $1,000, I want to say. You have to send them some money. You have to send them, the most interestingly, send them a complete list of all of your clients. You send them a list of all of your clients. And you have to assign those claims to somebody else. Okay? And now I operated a firm. Okay? And I had as many as, I don't remember, 4 or 5 attorneys working for me, 8 to 10 staff. The last attorney I hired was a girl named Angela Sylvie. Angela Sylvie has run for judge twice in Jefferson City, God know, and that I know of. Hell, she may be a judge by now. And corrupt as the day is long. Her husband is a guy named Ryan Sylvie. Ryan Sylvie was a kid who never had a job in his life. He goes and after he gets out of college, decides he wants to be a politician, goes and starts stomping all around Kansas City, where he's from, went and worked for it. He worked for it. I'm not saying he didn't, but talk about a system. This is the system in Missouri. You want a good example? Talk about this guy, okay? Never had a job in his life. Maybe he worked McDonald's or something, but he never did anything. The guy was just a little schlub, and he was a decent-looking kid. Goes and starts stumping around all over the state of the Kansas City area where he was elected as a state rep in the Missouri State House. And I met him through Angela. I took Angela, so I had thought about sleeping with her a couple of times, and we did sleep in the same bed together on several times, but I never touched her. Thank you. And I'm very glad I didn't. And I used to think she was kind of fun. I met her at a bar in 2003 to 2005. She was a bartender and a pretty big lush and quite promiscuous and did her share running around. And everybody knew it. But I liked her anyway. I thought she was funny and she was cool. And then she was going to law school, and she said she was going to go to law school. But one time, as single Sam, I decided to go to New York for Christmas. I'd never been at Christmas time and wanted to see the big wanted to go to a real Broadway show. I wanted to go spend some time on there. And I didn't want to go by myself. Well, she was a pretty safe bet. She was boning or letting Ryan bone her. Ryan was married to somebody else in Kansas City, some wife of his, and so, but like many other state reps that I knew over the time period that I was a Jeff City guy, like Sylvie is a big time Jeff Cityer, and she was, all connected up there and very, very well known for multiple reasons in that area. And that's how I knew her. I knew her from the bar scene, and so at any rate, she had passed the bar exam, but I met her through taking her to New York. I took her out. We had a fabulous weekend, and every night she was on the phone with Ryan, who we both knew. And I'm part of his story that he's not cheating on his wife because she's with Sam, right? And so I'm part of that story, and I don't give a shit. I don't care. You want to do what you do, that's your life, not mine. And if I want to take somebody, I didn't want to go alone to New York, and I didn't have anybody else to take, so I took her. And took her to a Broadway show. We went and saw Chicago. We wandered around. We did some high-dollar dinners. We had a great time while we were there. And she was FaceTiming or whatever that Apple thing is with Ryan quite a bit while we were there. Ryan definitely knew what was going on. He was afraid that I was maybe tapping that, but I wouldn't touch that. And even then, wouldn't touch that. And but I liked her. I thought she was funny, but not worthy of anything else. And Ryan later divorced his wife, married her. Okay, and they were either still dating. Ryan was in the middle of the divorce or something during that time period, or she had already married or was getting ready to marry him. I don't recall the exact timeline of their relationship. Don't really care. But she and Ryan, when she was working as an attorney in my office, and they were connected because she had said to me, listen, Ryan knows people at the Supreme Court. Ryan might be able to do something because he was by that time, he was a senator. So he had served his, I had known that they were together for a long, long time. While she was not even, she may have been in law school, but they were together for a long, long time. And I knew that they were together, and basically, that was, my deal to keep quiet with them. And I didn't really worry too much about it. I'm not keeping quiet about it anymore because it's a good part of the story. But she said, Ryan will help you keep your license. That's another part of the reason why I thought, I'm like, I don't think Ryan, some state rep or some state senator, which he might have been by then, is gonna, have any real effect. But he went to all their Christmas parties and went to all of their stuff. And she said there was a big ball that they were going to, and that they would talk to the Supreme Court, and and I'm like, look, none of that matters. Here's what matters is I've lost my license, and we need to assign you to all of these cases. I have to leave. Do you feel comfortable with this? I hope that when I come back, I'll have a firm to come back to. Will you continue these cases in my absence? I am going to back out, but I don't want to be in the background, really. If you can call me and you can talk to me about some of these things, and if you need assistance, let's see if we can get you some assistance. But in any case you don't want to take, she'd been a lawyer a year and a half. She was okay. There was nothing wrong with her, and she followed directions well, which is basically all I knew, was that she could follow directions reasonably well. And so I turned in this list of cases to the Supreme Court, saying that some of the cases I had told them they had to find other people. Some of the cases I said, you owe me money. At the time I lost my license, on my books that people owed me was somewhere in the neighborhood of $400,000 that people had owed me over the years. That some collectibles, some not. There are a good number of clients that I still represented. Notable, there were two huge ones. One that I charged $50,000 for a federal criminal case. Another one that I had worked with me for 3 years. Represented her son, multiple felonies, her in some civil case. It went over and over, and I can't remember their names, but there were a couple of bigger fees that owed me a lot of money. The criminal guy still owed me an additional $15,000. There were a couple that had a business transaction that had paid me $15,000 but still owed me $30,000. No, I'm sorry, they only owed me another $15,000. And then there was this lady that multiple cases over the years for her and her son, and she oh, we love you, you've done so well for our son, and you've done everything so great, and blah blah blah. And she still owed me somewhere in the neighborhood of $20,000. So she was still a client, but she had paid me over the years $30,000. Okay, but she still owed me $20,000. And there were plenty of other people that owed me money, and I was trying to figure out if I was still going to try to collect that money and live off it during the year that I was in hiatus, or whether I wasn't going to do anything because, I wanted to be able to come back and get the job, and I was just going to walk away, or whether I was going to let Angela keep trying to continue to do those things. And I'd settled on kind of a middle-of-the-road sort of approach. If there were cases that she was going to keep on dealing with, like the people that owed me the $20,000, if they would keep on dealing in that respect with me, then I would continue to, she could continue, I would not try to collect the money. I would just leave it. I would let her use that money as kind of a stepping stone to create a firm for her. She was in my office, my secretary, my every stick of furniture in there was mine. It was my lease, my stuff. I owned a restaurant below, that I was leasing from the same guy that I leased my law office up above. I had a big restaurant that I was opening up. This is right across from the Cole County Courthouse in Jefferson City. And I had opened a bar down there called Trappers. My last name's Trapp. I opened a bar called Trappers. And I was trying to get out of the Zesto that I bought in Jeff City and move that sort of lunch right downtown and do a Zesto's lunch, sell the property out on Highway 50 in Jefferson City, because the city wouldn't let me put a drive-through there. And so I would prefer to have a place where it wasn't dependent only upon the weather, because traffic, you'd never get drive-through traffic because I didn't have a drive-through. And during cold weather, nobody'd get out. Anyway, Angela is in my office. My secretary's in my office. All of my furniture is in my office, and she's using it's a cookie cutter law firm that she can go in and handle all on her own, assuming she felt confident with the cases. The ones she did not feel confident with, we got rid of. I sent them letters saying you'll have to find somebody else. If she was confident in those, she kept the cases. I sent a list to the Missouri Supreme Court. Well, no, to Sam Phillips, because you had to turn it into Sam. I sent the list to Sam saying, here's a list of my clients. Unbeknownst to me, what this process does is Sam gets to continue to solicit. And I didn't find out about this until 9 months later. My period of time is almost done. I moved to Qatar. I went over the ocean, took a job as a consultant with a firm there, and worked in that firm for a year and a half, and stayed there, made some good money, and tried to make the best of a horrible situation. And kind of got back into the international related sphere, which is really where I wanted to be in the first place. I thought, I'll get my license back. Maybe I'll go back into the corporate world because I like it better. I don't like all this political BS. And in the corporate world, had I stayed in it, I would have never been subject to this, because they don't go after corporate attorneys, and they don't go after large firm attorneys. They only go after, small time schmoes like Samuel Trapp. And so when I sent those case files to Sam Phillips, what I didn't know is that the practice goes like this. What they do with those case files is they send out letters written by Sam Phillips. Each client gets a letter. I had a copy of one at one point. And they solicit from your clients more bad behavior. They get to, here's how they do it. So they send out a letter. Imagine that some person, some third party, got to take whatever business that you're a part of and require you to give a list of who your clients are, and then got to send the following letter to every one of your clients that when you left. My name is Sam Phillips. I'm with the Office of Chief Disciplinary Counsel, Samuel Trapp, and I'm paraphrasing the content of this letter. I want you to know that Mr. Trapp is being punished for his bad behavior, and if you have anything to report, you can report it to me, and you can report any fee dispute, not to the Fee Dispute Resolution Committee, which, by the way, I've used 1,000,000 times, and fee disputes are no basis for further action against your license by the state. A fee dispute is action in the Fee Dispute Resolution Committee. But there's something else that I will tell you about but I'll tell you about this fund tomorrow. And it is and I forget the real name of it. It's part of the reason why I'm not saying it, and I don't want to get the name wrong. But this fund, Sam gets to tell everybody about this fund. And also, anybody that calls in or anybody that can talk about it can be referred to this fund. And this fund is a fund where they call this fund. You submit to this fund, not the Fee Dispute Resolution Committee. And I had never heard of this fund. I had no idea what this fund was when I first heard of it. And what this fund does is, unbeknownst to the lawyer that is subject to the fund or the fee dispute, as it is. And by the way, they don't have the ability to, this fund does not have the right to investigate fee disputes, only rule violations. Only, this is for lawyers who steal from their clients. This is a fund where a lawyer has stolen his client's money, and this fund allegedly makes right the client for people who have stolen their client's money. Okay? The first people to jump onto this fund bandwagon were the people who had worked with me for over 3 years and owed me $20,000 plus. And, they owed me that money. It was on the books. The 30 I had earned over the last 3-4 years representing them and their son in criminal cases in Miller and Cole County. And that money was long earned. The cases were long over, except the one that I was currently prosecuting with them, which was some kind of a debt resolution case that they owed a debt to somebody and they didn't think they had to pay it, and they had a reasonably good case. But over the 3 years prior, they had paid me somewhere in the neighborhood of $25,000, $30,000. They were the first to take Sam up on his offer. And they filed with, God knows what they told the committee, whatever this committee is called, but I'll get to those stories tomorrow, because this fund is is a joke, but not really. It's only a joke if your name is Samuel Trapp, because they use it to target people like Sam Trapp so they never have to give you your license back. And that is the end of today's tale for today. You are listening to, and this is a recorded version today, you're listening to Damn Radio. You can listen live at damnradio.com /live. You can listen to me on International Flavor, where I upload videos. In my Russian version, I also upload videos. That's called Международный вкус, International Flavor in Russian. And that is it for today. I won't go over the schedule because this is a recording, but I will happily wish you a good Thursday. And sorry I wasn't live today. And that is the show. Thank you very much and have a good day. Please listen again tomorrow.